Hi friends, it's good to be with you today. This is our eNews video for Wednesday, July 31st. There are a couple announcements that I want to go through within the next couple weeks, or go through today about the next couple weeks. But before we do, just a reflection on last Sunday. We had a great day of worship. Once again, we were downstairs in Fellowship Hall. Our organ is still being worked on. The progress has not been going quite as fast as the last week, as we are waiting for things to happen on the outside of the church building, and then they will bring them in within the week. So the progress may look a little bit similar to the last eNews you saw, but the work is still being done. Progress is still being made. But for the time being, we are still downstairs in Fellowship Hall, and just what a joyous space it's been. It's been kind of neat to be confined in a smaller space and be closer, more personable with others downstairs. So in many ways, it's been a great blessing. Next Sunday will look a little bit different than this past Sunday, just in the sense that we will have the Heartwood Acres service at Heartwood Acres. That will happen at 10 o'clock. Many churches within the community will be there, and Elfenwild is going to be part of that. So if you would like to come to the Heartwood service at 10 o'clock at the outdoor amphitheater, we would love to have you join us there. But we will have an 8:30 service here in the church building also. Ted Wood is going to be preaching for us. We're excited to see all that he has to share with us, and we will also have communion here. If you'd like to do communion here or at Heartwood, both options are available. They'll do communion at both services, but we would love to have you come to the 8:30 service and be a part of worship here, and then go with us also out to Heartwood Acres. So be aware of that. 10 o'clock at Heartwood, and be sure to bring a chair. That's next Sunday. Later in August, I want to be sure that you are still aware of the church picnic. The church picnic is happening at Kiwanis Park on August 18th. We will have our 11:10 service at Kiwanis. It'll be an outdoor worship space. We will do worship out there, and then following that service, we will do our church picnic, have meals together, and a time of fellowship. Once again, be sure to check out the website for details on that. We ask that you would bring a dish this year with you if you plan on participating. But be excited for that. We're looking forward to that day of fellowship together. And then the last thing, not the last thing, two more things. But one of the last things that I have is Goat Camp is currently going on this week at Elfenwild. So if you've been in the church building at all this week, you would have seen numerous kids that are here for Goat Camp. And if you're not familiar with Goat Camp it's based around the saying, greatest of all time, G-O-A-T, goat, greatest of all time. And the twist on that we have made is giving our abilities and talents. And that's how we're spelling GOAT as far as this camp goes. Because the whole thing is based around the kids learning how to share their abilities and talents and give God the glory in doing them. And so throughout this week, the kids have been participating joyously in all kinds of different crafts and cooking and sports and all kinds of dancing as well, all kinds of different things. And this coming Sunday at the 8:30 service, they will share a component of what they did during the week in our worship service. So if you weren't planning on going to the 8:30, I think it'd be very special to see what these kids have done during the week to prepare for worship. So come and see that at 8:30 this coming Sunday. And then the last thing is just to be prayerful for our senior high mission team. The youth group, senior high youth group, is in Germany as we speak. They're in Germany right now on their mission trip, and we are prayerful that everything is going smoothly there, but also that God is just using them in very fruitful ways as they are there on behalf of His kingdom and for His ministry. So keep them in mind. And then the last thing this morning is just to share with you an encouragement that I found this week and that I want to share with you. This week it is a psalm. And the thing that I really want to share from this psalm is really the pattern that the psalmist takes in preparing these 4 verses. So in verses 4 through 7, he kind of does this 1-2-1-2 pattern, where the psalmist reflects first on what God has done, and then makes a declaration of truth based upon what happens in that reflection. So he reflects and says a truth, reflects and says a truth. So just as we read this, pay attention to that pattern that he shows. I sought the Lord, and he answered me, and delivered me from all my fears. Those who look to him are radiant, and their faces shall never be ashamed. This poor man cried, and the Lord heard him and saved him out of all his troubles. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him and delivers them. And so the beauty there is the pattern is reflecting on what God has already done in the past because it gives hope for the future. And that's encouraging to me. And as we read the Scriptures, the Old Testament especially, what is the Old Testament? The Old Testament is full of the ways in which God has provided for his people throughout redemptive history. And many of the psalmists, even in other psalms, dwell on that. They look back and say, look, God, how you have provided for your people, how you have prepared your people, how you have nourished your people. And based on that, there is hope for the psalmist. And in the same way, friends, you and I, as we will continue to face trials, that we will continue to face circumstances that may put us in fear, may cause anxiety as we look forward to those days coming, or those events coming. We have the hope of Scripture already that shows us how God has provided for his people, and more than that, we have personal experience. And so as the psalmist reflects, he's reflecting on his own life. He's talking about himself and the ways that he saw the Lord move. And based in the ways that he saw the Lord move already, he knows that there is hope for the future. You and I can share in that ability. God gives us that grace, the grace of time, if you can think about it that way. The fact that we have history to look back on. And with that history of our life, the ways that God has worked already, there is hope for everything that he will do through you and I in the future. So don't forget about your past completely. It's important perhaps not to dwell on it, but to reflect on it is a very important thing. So reflect on the ways in which God has moved already in your life, because that gives us hope. Who God is gives us hope for all that he will use us for in the future, for his kingdom and for his glory. I hope that that's encouraging to you. I would encourage you to find this pattern in other Psalms. It happens numerous times in Scripture. But until we see you on Sunday, friends, I hope that you take care. We are excited to see you for Goat Camp Sunday and hopefully at Heartwood Acres as well. Be well this week. Take care.